Guys, I think we're live. I think we're live. I think we've got probably an hour to talk. So if it's on, then it's on. We'll hang out for an hour, and then if there's nothing to talk about in an hour, we'll bounce. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Um, how is everybody today? I heard that the pandemic is over. The big homie Joe Biden just told everybody the pandemic was over. So that's good, I guess. I guess that's going to be the end of mandates and all that jazz. So that's pretty cool. Um, what's up, guy? Yeah, bro, we've got some free time. So I figured, you know what? Let me talk to the gang. Let me talk to the gang. Gutter Gods in the house. What's good, Gutter Gods? El Coiguera in the house. What's good, buddy? Let me see. Shout out to Penn. I don't know what we're supposed to believe or we're not supposed to believe. So Facebook or YouTube can censor us because you say the pandemic is over, but then Biden's saying it, so I guess now it's okay for us to say that the pandemic's over. I don't know, bro. I really don't know, but hey, if the pandemic is over, that's pretty good news, I think. Right? Let me know, guys, if you can hear us okay. Let me know if you can hear us okay. Because you guys know how it gets down with the technical difficulties. Just want you to know how big of a fan I've been in a few dark places. You and wife's work has brought me joy and laughter. God bless and keep it up. Much love. I appreciate that, Jake. I appreciate it. Trust me, it is one of the main reasons we do what we do. But yeah, type 22 if you can hear okay, and then we'll go for it. Jaden, please stop using that term. That'd be great. Please stop using that term. Michelle in the house, gang, gang, gang. Wait for the presidential election cycle. Yeah, I know it's about to get hectic. It's about to get hectic. Okay, good. So everybody can hear. Who's your favorite other YouTuber that has tired in his name? Yeah, James is tired. It's my favorite YouTuber. Um, you know what's funny? I don't really watch a lot of Christian YouTube. Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that, Tasco. Yeah, the gain was ridiculously high. Ridiculously high. So thank you for that. Thank you for fixing it, helping me to fix it. Um, all right. So what were you saying now? Martha's Vineyard hypocritical. I'm not a fan of how Democrats and Republicans um, use immigrants to make their own political points. I wasn't a fan when AOC did the crying in the parking lot stunt, and I'm obviously not a fan of we're gonna ship these people off to Martha's Vineyard to prove a point. Obviously, the way folks reacted, you know, I'm not a fan of it. But at least people stepped up in Martha's Vineyard and helped a lot of those people. I mean, that's what I heard, so that's cool. But I'm not a fan of using human beings like a stunt and trying to manipulate people's emotions as if you care about these people when you really don't. Which obviously, if you look at the reaction to the kids in cages when Trump did it versus when Biden did it, you can see very clearly that all the people that were crying about it for 4 years during the Trump administration really didn't care about those people. And now you've got Republicans. I think it was DeSantis that pulled the stunt, sent those people over there. The whole thing is just disgusting to me as a human being. And if you respect the dignity of human beings, the way that these people are being used is ping pong balls for the establishment is pretty gruesome in my opinion. I'm not a fan of that shit at all. At all. Bo of the fifth column. Yeah, Bo of the fifth column is he's a funny guy. He's a funny guy. AOC can't have a black female POTUS because everyone is racist and or sexist. I mean, I do think that a black female president is a long ways away. You don't need everybody to be racist for a person to not get elected. But the reality is, and I think Obama proved that as long as you're not going to do anything for black people, then you'll be accepted by the establishment. As long as you're the type of black person that makes white people comfortable, and you make it clear that you're not actually going to do anything meaningful for black people, then you're okay, right? I mean, that's how Kamala got to where she is. So I do think I think if Michelle Obama ran, I think she would have a significant shot of winning. So, AOC's, my opinion of AOC, my interpretation of her as a phenomenon and as a person, as a politician, I'm a little bit more nuanced, and maybe, it's just wishful thinking, but, I don't think AOC is crazy for saying that. I don't know what it's like to be a woman in America. She made a comment in the GQ article where she said something to the effect of, I don't even know if I'm going to be alive in September or something like that. Look, I don't know. We don't know the death threat she's received. We don't know, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that we don't know about. So that's kind of where I look at things and I'm like, well, I know it sounds silly and over dramatic or whatever, but we don't know what it's like to be in that situation. Many of us, I mean, I know what it's like to constantly have your life threatened, and one defense mechanism that you use is to say, well, I'm going to die anyway. So that's the only way you can get up in the morning and go outside and go to school, is to just say, I'm going to die anyway. It's going to happen. So whatever. So her saying that, she might have just gotten a death threat, and she might have just said, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to be alive tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that mindset. A lot of people were saying she was over exaggerating, that type of thing. But, I don't know, man. The shit is, I'm not in her situation, is what I'm saying. Sending them to Martha's Vineyard expose their hypocrisy. Well, yeah, but, I don't think anybody aside from neoliberals were surprised that these people made hypocrites out of themselves. I mean, you didn't need to do that to prove that these people were hypocrites. The fact that the kids are still in cages right now, it says all we need to say. So what's the point of pulling that stunt to expose the hypocrisy when literally everybody who was literally crying over Trump putting the kids in the cages, we're not crying about it. They're not crying about it. They're not taking crazy photo ops. They're not doing anything to talk about it. They're not bringing it up. We heard about kids in cages every 3 seconds under the Trump administration. We don't hear about it anymore. So my thing is, why do we have to do that exercise to expose the hypocrisy? To me, it was more about throwing blood into the shark tank for people who are already disposed to voting for Republicans anyway. To me, it was about giving some red meat to people who hate immigrants in the first place. That's what it looks like to me. I don't think that... I think the hypocrisy of the Democratic establishment was made pretty clear literally in the first month of the Biden administration, when we put the kids back in cages and when we sent Kamala Harris down to South America to tell those people to stay home. That was already and then the reaction of the media, the Democratic media and so-called leftists who were so compassionate when it was Trump doing it to those kids. So to me, it's like, the hypocrisy has already been exposed, so why go and do that? So that's where I'm at with it. I hear what you're saying, exposing hypocrisy, but yeah. The crimes committed by Azerbaijan's regime are unspeakable. Raping, torturing, beheading, and mutilating Armenians after occupying their land. There will be no Western sanctions against Azerbaijan. Western humanitarianism only works against Russia, China, and Iran. Well, we know that. We know that. What's your opinion on marijuana as a Christian? I think there's a difference between things like cocaine, things like heroin, which are essentially lab creations, versus things that you pull out of the earth. I also think that when it comes to intoxicants, we have a dynamic equivalency between how you're told to handle alcohol. You're told not to be a drunkard in the scripture on numerous occasions, but you're also told to enjoy wine. And oddly enough, there's a dichotomy in the ancient world, in the ancient biblical world, between wine and strong drink. And strong drink would be the hard stuff, that type of thing. And there were actually festivals in Old Testament Israel where you could indulge in strong drink and party and have a good time. It's basically whatever you crave. So what I'm seeing is do everything in moderation. Don't let it control you. You should be able to stop for a week or a month or whatever. And there are times when you can kind of blitz and party and things like that, but those should be few and far between and in controlled circumstances. So that is my opinion on marijuana. I don't know anything about politics. I just know we should believe in one another and treat one another with dignity and respect. Correct. Yeah, God giving you all the seed and herb-bearing plants to use. Correct. I agree. Shout out to Ian. I don't know if Ian's in here, but shout out to Ian. Heroin is in a lab screen. It's derived. Cocaine is also derived from the cocoa plant. Well, yeah, anything on the earth is going to be derived from the earth. What I'm saying is, you're not taking it in its pure form. You're doing some sort of intervention to make the thing what it is. I think that's the difference. Pot is a good medicine and herb, not something to just constantly indulge in. Yeah, again, like you gotta as long as it's moderate. And Paul talks about it. All things are permissible for me, but not all things are beneficial. All things are permissible for me, but I will not be dominated by anything. So that's the issue, is when it comes to, are you the type of person that can get dominated by substances, habits, those types of things? Or are you a person that can quit for 2 or 3 months cold turkey and everything will be fine? That's kind of the difference to me. German police watched serenely as a Nazi is paraded by the streets. A few months ago, they were attacking and arresting people just for wearing Palestinian scarves. You know the deal. You already know what that's about, bro. You know what that's about. More Nazis in Ukraine than Germany. Ah, boy. Vin, is this on Twitch? No, it's not on Twitch. I haven't read any books by Thomas Sowell. I have not. I'm assuming it'll be an interesting read. Do you have a video or something of that nature to point me to that I could look at? Because I would actually look at. Oh snap, Emily. As a Christian, do you believe your God would prefer, equate, or punish a non-believer who came around on their own to believing after speaking blasphemy for years versus a blind follower? Well, on the one hand, as a father, I have a bunch of kids, and so I'm not going to say God loves one more than the other. What I will say, though, is it appears to me that God seems to be... It seems that blasphemous people draw out his compassion more than people who are kind of like born into it or whatever. I'm not saying that he loves them more. It just seems like though the blasphemers, the badasses draw out more passion from God. And what the other thing that I think about as a parent is, if I'm having a conflict with my children, I would much rather them swear at me, hit me on the shoulder, than ignore me, right? Like, to me, like, as long as the communication is being open, and granted, blasphemy and cursing God and all types of shit is not good, and I don't recommend doing it, but it's still a form of communication. I've said this a bunch of times. In Romans 1, when it talks about the wrath of God being revealed from heaven, if you actually go down in the book, when he's really pissed off, God just stops talking. It doesn't say he rains down fire and brimstone. As a matter of fact, there are passages in the Old Testament where God's like, I did this, I did that, I fucked up your country, I destroyed your grain, and yet you wouldn't turn to me. He was doing all this stuff, and the reason he was doing it wasn't because he was mad. It was because he was trying to get their attention. And then other times you see God say, you know what, man, just shut down the temple. And in the Old Testament economy, if you shut down the temple, then your communication portal with God was shut down. So what I would say about the blaspheming person is that, to me, they have a more authentic relationship with God than, let's say, a person who's born into it and religion is stale for them and they're just going through the motions. And so it seems that God's compassion is kind of drawn out more than with the blasphemous person than with the other person. That doesn't mean that I think he loves the blasphemous person more. It just, his parenting style for the blasphemous person is, we would interpret that as, oh, wow, he must really love that dude, or he must really love that girl in a way that he doesn't love other people, which is not true. I'm just talking our perception. So that's his, I don't know if that answered the question, but that's the best I could do. See those kids during the Sieg Heil in Ukraine. I was just talking about this with Applejack, because we talk almost daily. And, it's just at the point now where it's like, nobody cares. You know what I'm saying? Like, if by this time, everybody should know what those folks are about. And everybody should also know what we're about, why we're continuously fomenting this discord over there in that area and supplying these people with weapons to elongate the war and in interrupting peace processes so that war can continue. If you still support this whole thing after all that information, then there's nothing that's going to change people's minds. I mean, I showed video of these guys setting up howitzers by kindergartens, and the teachers confronting the Ukrainians and saying, what the fuck are you doing? And the Ukrainians going, and I interviewed one of these Ukraine apologists, and she said, yeah, I mean, too bad. It's war, whatever. So using children as human shields is, that's fine. So once a person is in that kind of mindset, they're unreachable. So they're not, the people who support this whole thing, the kids doing the Sieg Heil is not gonna affect whether or not they support this stuff. That's how I look at it. What's going on, DJ? Did you guys know that all big label music is really Masonic messaging, poetry, telling of their plan on multiple levels, directly or indirectly? Social engineering is something to promote degeneracy. I just think that that's an overestimation of the power of people over the will of human beings. I don't believe that there is a secret cabal of people who have control over all 8 billion of us. I do believe that there are, look, if you're super rich, there aren't a lot of you, and the more your economic strata increases, the more you know the people in that economic strata, because it's shaped like a pyramid. And so when those people get together, of course they're going to initiate policies and procedures to make sure that they and their family stays on top of the world. But as far as like being able to control every minute detail of our lives, I don't believe that they have that power. Cassia B in the house. What you on? I heard you're about to embark on a trip to Greece. That should be fun. Yeah, Luminous Knight has been a Freemason for all those years. Yeah. 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 Y'all ever listen to Vin? He has his moments. What's going on, Mike Jones? Yeah, I don't believe that the principalities of the power and the powers rule either. But I understand where you're coming from a New Testament perspective for sure. Hey, Vin, this question probably has a longer answer than fits its form, but how do you approach the question of what to do with frozen fertilized embryos in fertility clinics? No, it's find a way to preserve their life. I have a friend who they were doing IVF, all that jazz, and they were calling themselves pro-life, and then when they saw the ramifications of that, they adopted I think they call it a snowflake baby. You basically unfreeze it, implant it, and then you birth the child. It's a pretty crazy story. And so one of those kids is about to be, I'm pretty sure one of those kids was scheduled to play Kobe Bryant's daughter when the helicopter went down. So the point is she's living a great life, and they're obviously a great family. And I think there should be a much bigger push in the Christian circles, pro-life circles, to replicate that until we make that right. So it's not actually a hard question for me to answer. It's a pretty quick one. I am, however, working on my master's thesis. Holy shizzle whizzle. Yeah, I just got done talking to my friend. He's also just got his master's degree in Ayurveda medicine or something like that, because he's a Hindu, or a Bhakti yoga practitioner. I want to say it correctly. Also, negative vibes. Don't forget my my other little thingamajiggy. What's your master's thesis on? By the way, just got back from youth group. It was tolerable. They gave us candy. Mashallah. Got a question. How's Sori? Man, I don't believe that this baby is gonna come on October 15th. I think he's gonna come quicker than that. We've got an ultrasound tomorrow because the last time we had an ultrasound, homeboy was breached, and we are a couple weeks away. So that sucks. So if you're a praying person, pray about that. I'm not stressing it, but she's been pretty tired, and I think that's her body's way of prepping, because if you've ever been to a childbirth, and I've been to a few of them, it is labor, it is work. It's exhausting, and at the end of it, it literally looks like pretty horrible situation. So you have to you gotta rest. But you know how Sori is, or you might not, but she's type A, super driven. She's always got some task list to do, so you gotta kind of stiffen up and be steady and say, babe, just rest. So that's where she's at right now. Who's your favorite author in the Bible? That is interesting. I'd probably say John. But my favorite person, aside from Jesus, obviously, would be the Apostle Paul. I am most like him, dispositionally speaking. You know what I'm saying? So, Paul, like the guy screws up one time in a missionary journey. Paul gets back home and says, yeah, you can't come with us, bro. You're off the team. And then the other guy goes, come on, man, Shelly just made one mistake. And Paul said, nah, he can't come. So then dude says, well, if he can't come, I can't come. And Paul says, okay. And Paul never talks about the guy again, never says anything about him again, ever. Like, this shit is crazy. And that's how I am. So shout out to the Apostle Paul. Dude's crazy. That's my man. It's on strategies and interventions for improving reading comprehensions in severely autistic children. Holy shit. Yo, if you could send that to me, I'd be really, 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 really interested in that. That's great. That's really great. I'm really glad that autistic people are now getting their not due, but like the attention that they deserve, and that I feel like there's been some work in destigmatizing autism, which I think is a very positive thing. So I'm very happy about that. So good on you. What type of church religion do you practice in Christianity? I think you're saying like what denomination am I? I think the most accurate way to describe myself is to say I'm non-denominational. So I don't have a specific denomination. I don't know if that was your question. As far as what team I'm on, I'd probably say, what's up, Podge? Well, as far as what team I'm on, I'd probably say I'm evangelical, even though I'm not a fan of evangelicalism. I'd be interested as well. My son is level 3. He's now 4 and still nonverbal. Word. Does anyone think that America is the new Mystery Babylon with all the crazy stuff going on? No, I don't believe that America is Mystery Babylon, and I don't believe that America is even mentioned in the Bible. Predeterminist, Calvinist, I think that is, or no? Negative vibes. I always avoid that question directly. If you're familiar with theology, I think people can pretty much accurately guess where I'm at with that. What I'll say, I'll answer the question this way tonight because I'm feeling cheeky. What I will say is, I don't believe that God learns anything. I don't believe that God has ever learned anything. So that's how I'll answer that question. I'll share it with you when I'm done, finish my proposal, except I'm passionate about helping autistic children because my daughter's autistic. I want to make the world better for them. I don't know if any of my kids are autistic, but I was just talking to Sori about this. Like, you know, my son is like, we're opening this business, man, and it's gonna be, in my opinion, it's gonna wreck shop. But my son, like me, Sori, and my son were on that shit. And it's 33, 33, 33. Like, literally, there's not one of us where, if we didn't have one of us, it wouldn't have worked, honestly. Like, the kid he's incredible. I was talking to Sori, I said, man, if we sent this kid to public school, man, they would have just completely destroyed this dude's potential. And, like, I'm not dissing public school because at this point we're at in the country, like, it's still necessary. Obviously, Cassie is a public school teacher. The problem for me is, in my view, as I've gotten to know Cassia, and I've got to see Cassia even in conflict situations, the way she handles conflict, the way she handles, like, her heart is so deep. And she's not going to say this, but she's the exception and not the rule in the public school context. So there should be piles of literature about schooling autistic children and things of that nature. So anyway, my point is, you know, like, I've had my suspicions. I've never taken them to a specialist or anything like that, but I've had my suspicions about a couple of them. And a lot of it is, you know, finding folks' learning style, speaking folks' language, and understanding where people are coming from. We work from home, so we're literally 24/7 with our kids. So the dynamics are a little bit, we're in a privileged position that other people are not in. So there's a lot of back and forth. Bit of echo on the mic. Of course, there's a bit of echo on the mic. Let me see if I can fix that problem, y'all. Let's see. This is Mike. Hello. I think we're good. I think that should fix the echo. What's up, Muslim? Shout out to the big homie Muslim. Vin, I try to be consistent on valuing human life, but I have a really hard time with murderers, rapists, animal abusers. How would you value them without religion? Well, I mean, obviously, if you say without religion, if I were to say that the universe is empty, then there is no logical way to find an objective basis for human value. So from that context, the most you could say is, you being a child harmer, a murderer, a person who sexually assaults women, you are fucking with the whole and impeding our ability to reproduce and impeding our ability to survive. And as such, we are going to turn against you and just end you and take you off the planet so that the rest of us can survive and reproduce. And I think that's an internally consistent worldview, and I think that makes a lot of sense. And that's essentially been the story of human history once we started to get organized. So the only reason I would say don't kill that, and that's my position, by the way. Like, if you just took Vin, pure Vin, then yeah, man, line them all up. But the only reason I'm against lining them up is for Jesus' sake. And that's it. That's literally the only reason. So I still think you could be a consistent pro-lifer from an atheist worldview or a non-theistic worldview. I still think you can say we're killing this guy because this guy's going to kill a bunch of innocent people. He's going to impede our ability to reproduce and to survive. So I still think you can consistently say you're pro-life because you're saying, well, we're taking the much lesser of two evils, right? So, like, for example, if you say, okay, Hitler killed 6 million people, would you kill Hitler? You know, obviously, in my view, it would be evil to kill him, but a person's going to say, yeah, but the evil is at like 2 points of killing Hitler versus the evil of 7 trillion points letting him live, right? So my point is, I still think you can be consistent as a pro-lifer without being a theist. I've got a friend who's an atheist, and she's a hardcore pro-lifer, but I do think she would co-sign the death penalty for rapists, murderers, etc., etc. Would Jesus have really washed an evil human's feet? Well, we have biblical precedent for Jesus washing an evil human's feet because he washed the disciples' feet, and all of them were evil. You know, in the Sermon on the Mount, he was trying to encourage us to pray. So he said, if your son comes to you and asks you for a fish, will you give him a snake? If he asks you for bread, will you give him a stone? Obviously, that's a rhetorical question. And then he says, and he said this to the people who were following him. He said, so you who are evil, you can still give good gifts to your children. How much more God, who is good, right? And so the point is, all of us are evil. We're just evil in varying degrees. And so if Jesus washed the feet of Peter, he's washing Peter's feet, knowing that in 3 hours Peter's going to betray him and say he never knew him, right? So, yeah, anything you see Jesus doing for his disciples, Jesus is doing for evil people. So, that's how I'd look at that. Who's your favorite superhero? I'm gonna say Spider-Man, but I feel like there's one that I really love that I'm forgetting about. Was Muhammad the prophet mentioned in Isaiah 42? It mentions someone deaf and blind. That could be someone experiencing sensory deprivation in a cave. No, Ben, I don't believe that Muhammad, and sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to all my Muslim friends, I don't believe that Isaiah 42 is in any way speaking about Muhammad at all. Of course, Psalm 42 is Isaiah 42 is one of the servant psalms, and that is universally looked upon as being messianic. So that's why. And if you look, the servant in Isaiah 42 is actually sent to the Jews. I will make you a covenant for people, and you will be a light to the Gentiles. So this is a person who's initially sent to the Jews, whose ministry would then expand to the Gentiles. So that's how to answer that question. Loki. Yes, I do love Loki, but I don't think he's my favorite one. I'm gonna say Spider-Man. I see you and you see me, and what I see is me. Quote from Echoes from Pink Floyd. Yeah, I'm a fan of Pink Floyd. I really, really love them. As a matter of fact, Pink Floyd was in after we did the Dark Side of the Moon. We haven't done the Wall yet, but after we did the Dark Side of the Moon, we I had that CD in the SUV for literally like a year and a half, and then I replaced it with it's a black metal band. I forgot the name of the band. Best Rorschach from The Watchmen. Damn, I really like that dude. I like the dark people like Batman, right? Like Beachface is right. Like I love like dark characters that are brooding and have some horrible, you know. Spider-Man's got some darkness in himself, but he never really let it take him over. Whereas Bruce Wayne, he just allowed the darkness to kind of take him over, and you know, for a large part of my life, I think that was probably true of me. Like not so much like when I say the dark, I'm just talking about like he just let it. Batman, it seems to me, he let it consume him, and he was never able to kind of get past him and past the blame of himself for the death of his parents and things of that nature. And I've got a couple of those situations, you know. If you would have done X, Y, and Z thing differently, this would have happened. This person would still be here, type of situation. So I've always been kind of drawn to characters like that. But I think the way that Spider-Man handles his grief is actually a lot more healthy. But I'm sorry, we're drawn to who we're drawn to. Nothing we can do about it. Dirk in the house. I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked here with me. Dirk, bro. I've been going crazy on that piece, dude. We need to set some time together and really like find a way to like harmonize shit, because unbelievable. Unbelievable. Like that piece, man, is gonna like, this is like, I don't know. I really feel like it's Linkin Park level stuff. We just got to make sure that the lyrics and the cadence ball out for the music. But anyway, I wanted to tell you that because that shit was tight as hell, bro. I appreciate you. What's your opinion on modern Christianity, work salvations, online evangelists, etc.? Let's not stand on ceremony here, Mr. Wayne. What is the power metal band you could not finish? I don't want to say it, bro. Send me an email. I'll send it to you in an email response like right now. I don't want to say it publicly because I really don't want to, like, I'm not out to like diss bands. Like I'll tell like my opinion, but we drag that band so much in so many videos. I don't want to come out and say it. So send me an email. What's up, Esdon? What's up, Esdon? Okay, my opinion on modern Christianity. Works salvationists online. Well, obviously I think if you tell people that they have to do good deeds to get to heaven or good deeds to maintain their relationship with God, I feel like that, well, I know that that's a form of religious control. When you're a person who is perceived to have spiritual authority, if you tell people that they have to work their way into heaven, that automatically puts you in a power position over them, because nobody, if you have a sensitive conscience, is ever going to do good enough to work their way to heaven or even maintain a good relationship with God. My kids don't have to do anything to maintain a good relationship with me. I'm their father. That's it. That's never going to change. So, but if I told them like, hey, if you do this and this, I'm not going to be your father, or I might kick you out. Now I'm controlling you, and now your good deeds are coming out of a place of fear and self-preservation instead of love and gratitude. Love is always other-oriented. Gratitude is always other-oriented. Fear is always self-oriented and self-motivated. And so when you tell people to work their way into heaven, and hey, if your good deeds outweigh your bad deeds on the scale, then you're in and you're out, then that puts the spiritual authority as the person in control over your life, because you always have to check in with them. because they're the arbiter of what's good and what's not. It's a giant control mechanism, and I loathe it, and so does God. And so I'm always going to be against that kind of preaching and teaching, because I've seen, I mean, anybody that's been in evangelicalism has seen the power that kind of manipulation does to people. To put it for you in perspective, I was brought into Christianity from family. I always believed in the true gospel. Recently, truly coming back to God, I found those guys, and I felt uneasy listening. Yeah, man. Like once you like get out of that context, you look back at it, it's kind of cringe. And that's why I always say, like, I have some serious criticisms from modern American evangelicalism. They're still my people, so I'm not going to say those people, because we're still in it. So, like, for example, the way we treat LGBT people, and now you've got these people in Texas saying that they're not going to cover an HIV prophylactic for gay people because it they disagree with the lifestyle. We're talking about killing people now. And so when I did a story on that, I didn't say like these people have a homophobia problem. I say we have a homophobia problem because those are still my people. You see what I'm saying? And so, yeah, man, a lot of that shit is cringe, bro. And I'm sure 5 years from now, I'm going to look back at a lot of my videos and be like, oh, I don't really agree with that right now. Like, we're all works in progress. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, for sure. Current guitar of your choosing. You know, somebody from the channel gifted me with a guitar, and I forgot the name of the guitar. I can find the name of the guitar. It's a pretty good, I got to tell you, it's a badass guitar. And it's one of the best gifts. It is the best gift I've ever gotten from the channel, and I love it, and it records stuff great, and it's unbelievable. Let me tell you guys the name of the guitar that I have. Damn it, I don't know the name of the guitar. that should be assigned to you. That should be assigned to you, beautiful people, as to my guitar talents. They're not very high. I don't even know the name of the thing, for God's sake. What's up, Mike? I won't know the difference. I'm a basic fan. Okay. Christians call Jesus a lion of the tribe of Judah, and yet Jesus calls him a lion that comes to steal and destroy. It's a bit confusing. Okay, so yeah. So in 1 Peter, it says, your enemy, the devil, is like a roaring lion seeking to devour whoever he may destroy, right? And then in Revelation, Jesus is called a lion of the tribe of Judah. And I think the easiest way to say it is to say that in the ancient Near East, the lion was the king of the jungle. And so relative to the kingdom of darkness, whoever is at the top of that food chain would be the lion in that kingdom of darkness. And then you say, okay, who's the top of the food chain in the kingdom of light? You'd say that's Jesus. So you've got two lions, right? And they got to duke it out. It's kind of like Lion King. You know, you had the rightful king, and then you had the imposter, and then they had the jihad at the end, all that jazz. The major difference, where the only way that analogy breaks down, is there's no real equivalency between Jesus and Satan in a biblical worldview, right? They're both lions, but Jesus created Satan. He made him, and he sustains his life to this moment. And so it's not going to be a giant fight. All it's saying to Christians is that, listen, you are now engaged in a spiritual war, and you have got to take your enemy seriously, because you're going up against the top of the food chain. And then we're told later in Revelation, but don't worry, because you've got a lion that's got your back too, and he's a lot more fierce than the other one, so don't stress it. So you need to respect your enemy, but you cannot fear your enemy. And so you can put both of those together that way. That's how I do. I'm pretty fresh out of public school. What makes it bad, or at least not preferable? Well, there's a lot of things. One is I'm a Christian. The public school is not going to teach them a Christian worldview, and I'm not mad at them for that, because the public school is not a Christian institution. Number two, I have black children, and they're not going to give my black children a self-identity that I'm giving them. All black people know in America is that they used to be slaves, right? They weren't taught about, we're the origin of humanity. We invented the wheel, all the other shit, fire, all nope. Timbuktu, libraries, doctors, all that shit. They're not told that. For them, Black history starts on a slave ship, and that creates a certain mentality for somebody who's been inundated that for 12 years. Conversely, white folks are taught, and I'm not mad at it because it's their institution. They're taught that their forefathers conquered the world, all types of shit. And so when you imbibe that for 12 years, you're going to come out with a certain kind of mentality. So those are the reasons, me personally, I could never send my children to public school. Furthermore, the other thing is that kids' learning styles are so different, and if you put kids in a situation where they're in this cookie cutter environment and there's 20 of them, the one teacher who's stressed out, underpaid, overworked, has children of her own, especially in this crazy economy, again, the chances of running into a Cassia Bell are extremely low. And she's only in one grade. It's not like she can follow you all 12 years of your life, right? So that's another reason. The other thing is just the things that my kids have done. I've got a daughter who's about to get an agent right now and an editor. She's written 3 full-length books, like not like kiddie books, like hundreds of pages, thousands of words. And now she's writing a screenplay, getting an agent, all types of shit. She's 14, 15 years old. My son is literally working with senators and governors that you would recognize right now if I told you their names. Or you could look up and see that these people are there's just a lot of things that my kids have been able to pull off that are just absolutely incredible that they would not have been able to do if they were socialized in public school, because that kind of individual training and development and drawing out of their specialities and things. I've got another kid right now that's ridiculous with the pen as far as being able to draw, and we're about to set her up with a master class in graphic design. She's not even 13 yet, right? So it's just, there's a lot of reasons that I would never send my children to public school. So that's one of the reasons why. But I don't want to like say public school is horrible and that if you send your kids to public school, you're a bad parent. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying for me, because we've been blessed to be able to be home and all that, it's had a massively great effect on us. And you know, on the one hand, obviously as a parent, I think my kids are special, but on the other hand, I look at my kids and I'm like, yeah, I believe they're special, but we've got a little girl down the way and she's just so full of life and brilliant. And I'm like, damn, if she was given the opportunity to really blossom as far as where she's at, what could she do? I'm not certain that my kids are that special versus being in the circumstance where they were able to let their genius just germinate and they're able to just try things out and make mistakes and you know, not learn to learn, not learn for a grade. My daughter was doing English lit all through summer because it's her passion. She found her passion. So yeah, and they cannot beat their dad in Madden, correct? Sorry if it's been asked, is there any part of the Bible you don't like? Hell yeah, there's parts of the Bible I don't like. There's parts of the Bible God doesn't like. We're not told to like all parts of the Bible. You know, there's descriptions of a dude sexually assaulting his half-sister, and the father does nothing about it. That shit pisses me off. It also pissed off her brother, who waited a couple years and murdered that dude in broad daylight. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of real grimy, horrible shit in the Bible because it's presenting us as we are. And so, yeah, man, there's a lot of shit in the Bible I don't like. Class sizes are too large to be able to give the one-on-one attention they need in many cases. Yeah. No, I agree. And, you know, like, at some point it's like, what the hell are we doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the plan? You know? But these teachers, you know, they're out there. They've been protesting all that jazz, and there's been no coverage of it, really. You know, TYT's been keeping up with it and all the rest of it, but a lot of these teachers have been protesting. And of course, the media isn't picking up. And then you have to ask yourself the question, well, why isn't the media picking that up? Right? Why isn't the media telling us that these teachers have a gripe and what their gripe is and what they're upset about? I think that's important. And I think the fact that they won't do that speaks volumes. Chris says, I've been against homeschooling my whole life, but the way things are, I'm not sure I'd send kids to public school either. That's curious to me. Why would you be against homeschooling? That's a fascinating thought. When we first showed up, you know, before COVID and all that, and we came out as homeschool parents, I was really blown away by the emotions and the how negative the backlash was from people. They were really, really upset at us for doing it. I'm like, holy smokes. My mother's given name in the Bible means deceiver. Not a fan of that chapter. You mean Jacob? That's interesting. I have 40. What? Whoa! 42 students in one class? 42 students in one class. This shit is incredible to me. Is it a co-op or is it me? Yeah, it's just me and Sori. It's just me and Sori. But a co-op wouldn't work for us either, man, because our life, it's just a really, really unique lifestyle and a really unique philosophy on parenting and teaching. And I told her one day we'll probably write a book, but I mean, the proof's in the pudding. My son went to some Republican thingamajiggy and he got called out by some senator thingamajiggy, and they were like, basically like, this is the future, blah, 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 blah. They were trying to ask him like what academy he went to, all type of shit. Yeah, so I mean, you I don't think we would ever find a co-op that are aligned philosophically with our understanding of education and learning. So, yeah. Best rapper of the modern era. Well, I still think Jay is the best rapper. Like overall body of work. I think Eminem, as far as living rappers goes, is the best lyricist. I think Kanye's the best producer. I forgot dude's name. He's I think J. Cole. I like J. Cole. I really love Meek Mill. There's another guy that's like related to J. Cole. He's on the West Coast. I forgot the guy's name. He's probably the best right now if you put everything together. I think, you know, Eminem is great. The problem with Eminem is he hasn't been able to modernize to the current era of rap. So he'll put stuff out and it's great. It just won't bang because it's from 10 years ago. It's lyrical genius. Like I said, I think he's the best living lyricist right now. But as far as like rapper overall, can you make a song? Right now, Eminem to me is Yngwie Malmsteen. You know, a guy who's just an unbelievable specialist, but doesn't really make good songs in the modern era, in my opinion. That's kind of where I'm at with it. Have you heard of JID? I don't know who JID is. Yeah, I was gonna see, because I know I'm not qualified to teach my I know I'm not qualified to teach my kids math. That's funny. Yeah, Stone Cold. Modern matters to me though, because that definitely has to go to be part of your score. because if you can't reinvent yourself, then you cannot be considered great at the time, right? So, like, for example, when Tom Brady started quarterbacking, the game has evolved so much. And Tom has evolved with it and is still able to dominate in the new way that football is being played. So you can't say modernity doesn't matter. Eminem cannot make a hit record anymore because he doesn't have that in his bag. But that does not mean that he's not a great lyricist. I still think he's the best lyricist right now, in my opinion. Do you think teaching sexual education to grade school right now is common? I'm not sure what you mean by that, but it looks like that question wasn't directed to me. Again with this Tom Brady crap. Oh man, what do you think about the Game's Eminem diss? I didn't even listen to it. Game said he was better than Eminem lyrically, and so when he said that, I saw something where Game said that on like Vlad TV or something like that. Game said he was a better lyricist than Eminem. I didn't even look into it. Game is not better than Eminem. I think Game's a great rapper, but lyrically in a battle, no way. No way. No way. No way. No. Vid, what are your thoughts on classical theism versus theistic personalism? You know, my man Perkinos asked me that question. You know, I'm kind of ambivalent about that question. You know, it's kind of, you know, I'm kind of flirting with that stuff due to the science stuff I'm looking at with Bernardo Kastrup, Don Hoffman, the Essentia Foundation, those types of guys. But I'm not sure yet. Ask me again in the next Ask Me Anything. I'll probably have an answer for you. I'm not qualified to teach myself math, and I'm a teacher. I always like the original. So the Irish version of your name, that's probably going to be my one. Yeah, you know, maybe I should just be open-minded and look at it. Like I said, like I had a problem, you know, like as soon as I saw that Game said that, I'm like, come on, bruh. Like, come on, dude. Like, you barely beat 50 Cent in a rap battle, bro. Like, nah, I'm lying. But 50's a trash rapper. He's not a good rapper. You know, 50, nobody ever looked at 50 and was like, yo, lyrically, yo, this guy 50 is crazy. Nobody ever said that about 50. 50 to me is like the diametric opposite of Eminem. 50 made very good club songs and very good party songs. Like, he's not a lyricist. You know what I'm saying? I like that. Is MGK the guy that said I need you in my life, whatever? He's the one dating Jennifer, whatever her name is. There's a machine, I think it's Machine Gun Kelly. Yeah, DMX, the same thing. Like, nobody's looking at DMX and was like, yo, lyrically DMX is crazy. You know what I'm saying? If Eminem and DMX got in a rap battle, Eminem would destroy him. There's not a lot of people that I would say that would beat Eminem, especially in his prime. You know, Big Pun, Rascass, Big, obviously. Other than that, I don't see anybody even coming close to M in a actual like lyrical rap battle, in my opinion. Yeah, Get Rich or Die Trying was amazing front to back. I'm not going to lie to you. I've never listened to that album. Like, was it the club song? You Find Me in the Club, blah, blah, blah. by the time that came out, like I was out of rap. Like I wasn't listening to rap. I didn't care about it. You know what I'm saying? I would hear that and I'd just turn it off because I was just into my metal. I'm only gonna listen to metal. I've calmed down a little bit, but you know, in New York, like nobody was talking about Fifth as like a lyrical guy, but everybody was like, "Yo, he's a real street dude." Like that was the thing in New York. We respected the hell out of 50 because he was like, and in New York, like people know people. And like Fifth was a real street dude. Like he was a real live street dude, and he was a stick-up kid. He was not to be. And so because of his authenticity, he got our respect. You know what I'm saying? But he was never like, oh, this guy's such a lyricist. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah. Yeah, Big Pun, man. Whoo, whoo, man. If he didn't die early, man. Big Pun is the only one where I'm like, yo, he might have been able to get big. Because Pun could lyrically destroy you, but he could also write the poppy songs and the, you know, the radio hits and all those. Like he figured that out. But yeah, Pun. Me and DJ talk about Pun from time to time, and Bone Thugs. You know what I'm saying? Bone Thugs is another one. Bone Thugs to me are like the Steph Curry of rap. They like completely changed the game. They completely came in and just did something that when other people are copying them, you know immediately. Like all this stuff with the Migos and all the rest of it. I'm probably getting into the weeds here, but that all. If you didn't have Bone Thugs, you would not have had the vast majority of the modern rap that you see today. Like they really started that shit. I mean, it was literally Bone Thugs in harmony. And right now, if you're a rapper, you have got to be able to sing. You have to be able to phase between the two. And Bone Thugs were the first guys that came up with the prototype for that. They just came and did something that nobody had ever seen before. So yeah, I think Bone, as far as like even though I'm a New York guy and I'm supposed to say Wu-Tang is the best group, Wu-Tang doesn't come close, in my view, to what Bone Thugs and Harmony did for hip hop. You can put in, man, what was it, 96? That song Mo Murder. There's a song called Mo Murder. We used to listen to that song when you know, 8th period shit's about to go down after school. Like everybody had that shit in there to get locked in and like get that mood in there. You can play the song Mo Murder could come out today and the shit doesn't sound like a 90s song at all. It's like evergreen. You know what I'm saying? Whereas Wu-Tang, like it just, you put it on, it's like, yep, this is a 90s in the gutter. And it's okay, but it's not on the same, no. It's not on the same level as Bone Thugs for me. Those guys are, they were the most, Bone Thugs to me are the most metal, you know, rap group of all time. Like I'm surprised that a whole bunch of metal bands haven't like jumped on that and said, let's do a song together, because man, that Mo Murder song, like, I don't know. I might actually fuck around and make a metal cover. I might fuck around and make a metal cover of that song. Like that's how much I believe in that. Cassia said this might surprise you, but I exercised the NWA. Hell nah. I always knew you was a gangster, Cassie. It kind of bothers me that so many performers don't compose music or write their own lyrics anymore. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, I can't imagine it. I can't imagine somebody saying, okay, here's you know, here's this song or whatever, but, and you know, so just sing and write it like we say. Like I can't imagine doing that, but you know, hey, to each their own, whatever. When can we have our talk about everything? Holy shit, about everything. Yeah, No Surrender. Yeah, Bone had just so many of those songs, man. And yeah, Stone Cold is right. The keyboards and the synth, they that's the other thing, is they expanded like your palette as a hip hop head. As a matter of fact, the last group I was rocking with heavy before I discovered Korn was Bone Thugs. So they kind of like prepped me for metal. If you want to die, bye. Soon you're gonna let mama cry. I mean, it's just terrible. It was terrible, but you know, that's how we were coming at the time. That's how shit was at the time. That's how, you know. You just had to listen to that shit to kind of like get you away from all the fear. You know, because you're in 8th period and you're terrified. Because you got to meet these dudes at the bridge on the way to Baychester. That shit that's a really fucking terrifying experience. I don't care what anybody says. So, you know, like I said, I was never a gangster. So maybe people like Applejack and shit, you know, maybe he was completely fine. But my shit was like this the whole time. So I would listen to that shit and it would calm me down, oddly enough, and it would get me into the sort of mindset to where it's like I was going to do what I had to do, which is bullshit. I didn't have to do shit. I could have just took the 12 bus home instead of going up there, but what am I going to do? Leave my folks? Like, I'm not doing that. So, but yeah, Bone Thugs was that for show. Perkinos in the house. Perkinos in the house. Bowen had a lot of sinister sounds, and folks thought they were. Oh yeah, my older brother. Like, I gotta ask him again, but like for a long time, dude was like, "Yo, they worship the devil." Blah blah blah. Like that's how dark. Those guys were. Blake X and Alex Hefner are bigger Tom McDonald fans than you. Yeah. See, people misinterpret my opinion of Tom McDonald. I think Tom McDonald he's an okay rapper, but today's rap is not about lyrical content. I've always said, because I run a couple businesses, like I respect Tom as a businessman. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of aspects to rap and music and things, like there's a lot of aspects to the game. It's not just can you rap or whatever. So I understand what Tom McDonald is doing, and I respect it on the business side. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have any beef with Tom McDonald. Like, I don't, like, dislike him. You know what I'm saying? If you make political rap, obviously people are going to have strong opinions either way. But I've never disliked Tom McDonald. I've always actually rated a lot of his songs high. I don't think I've ever given anything lower than a 9 for Tom McDonald. So, you know, it's just his fans are extremely sensitive. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Bone had a... Hell yeah, Tom McDonald is corny. When is our song coming out? Well, Dirk Diggler is a really, really gifted musician. So we just added him at least for one song to the band. So that's good. I'm really, really excited, actually, for this new song, man, because this shit is crazy. Did God order the Jews to commit a Holocaust in Canaan after 4 years in the desert? You know, we had a Bible boogie about this. We had a Bible boogie about Old Testament violence. And long story short, if you were to read a news report and it was saying it's raining cats and dogs, you would know in the current context that raining cats and dogs doesn't literally mean rain cats and dogs. In the same way, when you hear things like kill everybody, man, women, children, blah, 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 wipe them from the face of the earth, this is a euphemism for saying just win the war. We know that because, for example, there were nations on this kill list, right? So one of them were Hittites. So God says, eliminate all the Hittites. And then you go to Joshua Conquest saying, all the Hittites have been murdered, killed, whatever. And then you get to 1 Samuel and then 2 Samuel. And there's this guy named Uriah, and he's a Hittite. And David, the king at the time, falls in lust with Uriah's wife. So he sets up Uriah to be killed on the battlefield so that he can have this woman. And God shows up and says, what the fuck is wrong with you? You should have done that. So now I'm going to take your son from you because you took Uriah's life. So in the old, so it's like, wait a second, in Deuteronomy, the Hittites are like, we're supposed to completely wipe them out. But now here you go fighting against your own people for these Hittites. The same thing happened with the Canaanites. There were these Canaanites, a sub-tribe of the Canaanites called the Gibeonites, and Saul, and it's very interesting. It says Saul, because of his zeal for Israel, tried to completely wipe them out. Well, they were on the kill list. But it says Saul, because of his zeal for Israel, tried to completely wipe them out. And so what ended up happening was they basically had to flee to the mountains, and then God sends a plague, a famine on the land, so nobody can eat. So the king goes, what the fuck? What's going on? Why are you doing this? And God said, you guys sinned against these Gibeonites, and you got to make that right. Otherwise, nobody's going to eat. And so David goes up to them and says, hey, what can we do to repay you so that God doesn't destroy our land? And they said, we don't have the right to do that. I mean, we're guests in your land. And David's like, yeah, just the same. You got to tell us to do something. So they basically said, well, get us 7 of Saul's family, execute them, and then we'll call it good, and then we'll live in peace. So the point is, those phrases like end them all, that type of thing, was ancient Near Eastern customary language for win a decisive war. It doesn't mean you completely eliminated all those people. It's not what it means. What it means is these are bad guys, go to war, you're going to win, so go ahead. But it was understood that it doesn't literally mean to kill everybody, and I just gave you 2 examples from the Old Testament where you're supposed to know that it didn't literally mean that. The problem is that when you read these passages from 21st century lenses with 21st century assumptions and Aristotelian assumptions when you're reading into a text, instead of going to say, how would a person in the ancient Near East have read this? How would they have understood it in the ancient Near East? Because on the one hand, we're told the Hittites are completely destroyed. Their names is blotted out from the land. And then 2 chapters later, you see all these Hittites and all the rest of it. The original audience understood what was going on. But the 21st century audience, obviously, because we have the capacity to actually eliminate whole groups of people, we're looking at it differently because now we've got technology where we're actually able to do that in a very short period of time. So that's how to answer that question. Bone Thugs and Harmony, look into my... Oh, yeah. We're more than thugs, we're more than thugs. What was the name of that song? That song got me through a pretty hard time in Parsippany, New Jersey. Come look deeply in my Days of Our Lives. Yeah, Bone Thugs did this song called Days of Our Lives, and those guys were absolutely incredible. They were incredible. I love them. Yeah, they were absolutely the best. They're the best. Anybody that says, I'm sorry, man, I love Wu-Tang Clan, but honestly, Wu-Tang Clan, I mean, in my opinion, they didn't really have a lot of like really bang up songs where you're like, oh my God. You know what I'm saying? Like Triumph was crazy, bomb atomically, Socrates' philosophy is not hypocrisy. Like everybody was spinning that verse in 97, bro. Like everybody on the train, whatever. And then dude starts rap, everybody would jump in on the train. Shit was crazy. Like to this day, that verse is like, in my opinion, that's the hardest verse in hip hop history. But as far as like being able to consistently produce, I hate Cream. I hate that song. Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. I don't like that song. I don't like the ice cream truck song. All that shit. That shit is trash, bro. Like for me, I always thought Wu-Tang Clan was massively overrated. That's my opinion. Did you take down the behemoth blow your trumpet Gabriel reaction? No, I did not. But they might have, because sometimes the record label was like, wait a second, and they'll block it like retroactively. So I'm not sure. Go to Tom McDonald's comment sections, and the majority are old white people telling him how much they hated rap until he spoke to them. His disses to Mac Lethal were A+. Best rapper ever, was quite good. There you go. Hey, Candy Apple's in the house. If the God of the Bible exists, I think he would have made the Bible understandable for everyone in the past and in the 21st century. Well, Lucifer, I didn't say that 21st people can't understand it. What I'm saying is that 21st century people need to not come to an ancient Near Eastern document with Western 21st century assumptions. I think part of being a parent is recognizing that your kids have a modicum of wisdom. And, now when I tell my kids to do something, there's a whole bunch of things I don't tell them because I expect them to have, that common sense. And they do. And I think that's how God treats us. It's like, I don't need to handhold you guys. I barely graduated high school. I'm not a very educated person, and I can understand it. And I'm sure all of you guys can understand it. So I agree he would make it understandable, but that doesn't mean that he's going to make it lazy, right? Like, he gave you a mind that can come up with really complex structures and think things through. And so that's how to answer that question. Kamikaze said, I have a theological question. Does God only hear the prayers of the righteous? No, I don't believe that God only hears the prayers of the righteous. There's a specific passage where Abraham, who's obviously a big hero, Abrahamic religions, Abraham goes into this land and he's afraid that because his wife is beautiful, that dudes are going to kill him in order to sleep with his wife. So he tells his wife, tell the king that I'm your brother, that we're brother and sister, so that he won't murder me. Well, of course, this is a beautiful woman. She's single. And so this guy takes her because her husband won't defend her. So Yahweh sends a plague on the land. Now, this guy, Ahimelech, is a pagan. He's not. He doesn't know Yahweh at all, doesn't call Yahweh by his name. He has no relationship with Yahweh. Jesus shows up to this dude and says, you're a dead man because you have another man's wife. And the guy says, whoa, whoa, whoa. He says, hey, I didn't know that she was married. Homeboy told me that that was his sister. So now all of us are going to die because this guy told me a lie? I didn't know. And Jesus said, yeah, I know you didn't know. But Jesus said, you better let that woman go. I'm going to kill you all. So that's a situation where a pagan and God are having a conversation, because prayer is simply a conversation with God. And not only did this guy have a conversation with God, he argued with God. He argued his case, and he even said, "Are you gonna destroy the righteous? What are you doing? Are you gonna destroy an innocent person?" And so God absolutely heard his prayer, and didn't kill him. Gave him an opportunity to send Sarah back, and then he showed up, and so that's one example. But there's multiple examples. Absolutely, God hears the prayers of the wicked. For sure. Does shouting the F word count as a prayer? It depends on where you direct the F word. There's been times when I've been thinking about abortion or thinking about what happened in Uvalde. The most recent experience I had at this was Uvalde, where it was so tragic that I could not even speak. When I was, bawling. You guys know I'm a big softie. Anytime something happens to my kids, there it is. Anytime something happens to kids, I always think about my kids. And I think about my kids calling out to me, being terrified, and me not being able to help. So, I don't know if you guys remember this, but I was in real denial about what actually happened in Uvalde until it was proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. And when I could no longer deny what actually happened, that those people stood outside while those kids were getting killed like that, I cried for quite some time. I didn't say any words, but all of it was a prayer. Every tear was a prayer. And there have been times when I've been like, what the fuck? How could you let this happen? Or sometimes I've just said whatever. As long as it's God word, it counts as a prayer, which is one of the reasons why I know that God is very, very, very deeply present at black metal shows. I'm a person, I know the Spirit of God, and he was massively active at that Behemoth show. So, yeah, it counts as a prayer. This whole thing where you formalize everything and things like that, this is one of the reasons I wish everybody could have a kid or at least experience what it's like to be a parent. Because everything, all your theological questions, many of your theological questions get answered through your children. You know, my Seneca's about to be born, and he's going to be nonverbal. So when a child is first born, their primary communication mechanism is just crying. It's babbling. It's not anything. But I'm his father. But that's the funny thing. Like when you're a dad, you know what a cry means. Sometimes it's I'm tired and I'm fighting sleep and I just need to go to sleep, and you just leave it. Sometimes it's like I'm in a lot of pain. Sometimes, and so you run in there and you figure out, you solve the problem practically. Is the hand jammed? Is the finger jammed? What's going on? Other times they're terrified. They're scared. They had a night terror or whatever. Loud, like when the alarm goes off, the kids call it the beep beep. When the beep beep goes off, they're terrified. So I run in there and I'm like, yo, we good, bro, we good. So I know the cries of my children and what those mean. And so fuck, shit, crying, tears, throwing shit against the wall, whatever. As long as you're God conscious and you're directing it to God while you're doing it, it counts as a prayer. That's how I feel about it. Yeah, candy apples. I appreciate it. You know, we do need to be strong, that's for sure. Well, I'm saying babies are nonverbal when they're first born, was my point. You know what I'm saying? They're nonverbal, like they can't speak yet. But I do know their cry, like what it means. At some point in your life, did you think that God put the world on automatic and killed himself? That's a very brilliant way of saying it. No. I've always had a very unusual relationship with God. My first conscious memories were very powerful spiritual experiences. I've just never been able to experience life outside of God's presence. And so I've never, I've seen things and been like, wow, that's terrible, blah, blah, blah. But I've never been like, yo, where are you? You're asleep at the wheel type of thing. Like, not because I'm a good Christian. It's just, it's impossible for me to do that. Just because he's around me, like he's with me right now. Like he's comforting me right now. Because I brought up Uvalde. I have a question about the behemoth. God describes the beast behemoth in the Bible. In the description, I was talking with a friend about whether or not it's a dinosaur. Yeah, I don't think behemoth is a dinosaur. I think it's just a really, really big mammal. Oh, no, it's all good. It's all good, Tony. Pony, it's all good. Thank you so much for your answer. I've seen a video and it said, we wonder why God doesn't hear prayers because we're not righteous, but this made no sense to me. But again, this is what I'm talking about. When you make a person's relationship with God about how righteous you are or whatever, now I can control you. So now you're not righteous enough. God's not going to hear your prayer. So unless I declare you righteous, now God won't hear your prayer. This is the way religious people get control over people. The way to get righteous is to keep praying. You do not take a bath before you take a shower. So the way to get righteous is to keep praying. If you're not righteous enough, then you need to pray more. Not the other way around. You don't get righteous enough to earn the right to pray. Holy shit. Can you keep Jer? She's had a lot of, and I don't know where. She's a very good state. Okay, yeah, I'll definitely pray about that for sure. Serious question. I'm an atheist and I have hardcore asked if God came down from the heavens, would I believe in him? But if another God came down from the heavens, would you worship said gods? I don't know what you mean by that. Like, if, first of all, this is going to surprise you. I do believe that there are other gods that come down from the heavens. So no, I wouldn't worship them. Because God because that's why God is called the Most High, because there are high deities in the universe, but God made them, and he is over and above the council of the gods, as the scripture says in Psalm 82. So I would not believe in them in the sense that I would abandon Yahweh and pledge fealty to them. I would never do that. I'm rolling with the Trinity come hell or high water. So that's how to answer that question. Appreciate you too, Kami. Can you pray for more jihad for the military industrial complex? Well, you know, it's like praying for the sky to be blue, my man. Them boys is on it already. I really respect the personal aspects of you being religious, so to speak. Organized religion and blindly following a holy person is what pisses me off the most about religions. Yeah, I mean, I think there's benefits to organized religion. I mean, organized religion got us hospitals and things of that nature. But I agree with you. When you start introducing power dynamics and you've got one guy that is a determiner of who goes to heaven or hell, and it's not about Jesus anymore, hell yeah, man. Stay far away from that shit. But that's not the same thing as you and your walk with God. You know what I'm saying? Thor is gonna be jealous, Vin. Some people believe that fallen angels are actually what most people would consider to be extraterrestrial. Well, look, man. If you were an extra dimensional being, and you wanted to interface with people that are stuck in the three-dimensional world, in the three dimensions that we're in, how would you reveal yourself? You know, I was watching a guy on the Lex Friedman podcast. The guy's he's a brilliant guy, brilliant Princeton something of science something, and he said, look, if you were an extra dimensional being and you went to the first humans, what would you be? Well, you'd be like this weird spirit in the woods. You know, these guys are non-verbal cavemen, whatever. You'd be a spirit in the woods. And then as we leave the woods and start creating culture and start having religions, then you would be the gods coming down from the heavens. Well, how would you reveal yourself if you were in a post-enlightenment world where people claim they didn't believe in gods and angels anymore, but you're in sort of this scientific era? How would you reveal yourself? You would reveal yourself as a sort of, you know, extraterrestrial, you know, scientific background, laws of physics, that type of thing. So that being a theory, I'm there. And if you really press me to the wall, when people are talking about this UAP phenomena, all this stuff, and they're completely defying the laws of physics, and they're transmedium. They go from the air into the water and don't lose almost any velocity. These things are completely turning physics on its, physics on its head. And the quantum physicists are even scratching their heads, and they're the last hope in figuring out this UAP phenomena, UFO phenomena. I think it's absolutely in play that it's possible that we could be dealing with, quadridimensional, beings, beings with from other dimensions that go back and forth. That's my take on it, for sure. I'm a Christian, and we don't have control over you. I don't know who told you that. Bible does not tell you this. Why do you think people know the Bible when they have no idea? I don't know who you're talking about, Stone Cold. I don't know who we is. Maybe if you could, articulate a little bit more what you're talking about. Shout out to Lex Freedom. For sure. My problem with the religious is the same problem with the non-religious. It's the people. Well, what about you? Are you one of those people you have a problem with? Or does everybody suck but you're awesome? It's a genuine question. I'm not trying to fuck with you. I just want to see what the mentality is. I've never believed in extraterrestrials. I've never not believed in extraterrestrials. It's crazy to me, the size of the universe, to think that we're the only ones here. You know what I'm saying? Well, Olden is called the All-Father. Yes, he is. I still say we're the result of deviant aliens mating with apes. Interesting.
Have you heard of Dave Smith? What are your thoughts on him? No, I haven't heard of him. I'm a big fan of Fermi's paradox answering Drake's equation when it comes to alien life. If it's almost certain alien life is out there, how come no one has conquered us yet? Well, that question assumes that those beings are like us, right? So, like, I think it was like the same guy on Alex Friedman show. He said, if you could become an ant, if you could incarnate into an ant's world, the ant would say, what kind of dirt do you eat? Or it was a worm or something like that. They say, what kind of dirt do you eat, right? Because the worm, you know, their paradigm is they're in the dirt all the time. So that's how they're going to talk. So we look at it like, well, if we had this overwhelming power, we would just colonize and conquer everything because that's what we do. But that assumes that those people are like us and that they have our agenda and that what's important to us is important to them. The other thing is that also assumes that we have not been conquered. How do you know we haven't been conquered? There hasn't never been a day on this planet when there hasn't been horrible bloodshed and things of that nature. How do you know that that's not the way that they're conquering us? Like there are so many possibilities from hyper intelligent beings that are in the 5th, 6th, 7th dimension or whatever, that paradox has always been strange to me, that people would like make those assumptions. But I hear what you're saying. In Rome or near it, many prodigies occurred in the winter. Some of those portents were that phantom ships had been gleaming in the sky. Yeah, I mean, Perkinos, and I know you know about the when Josephus and Tacitus talked about the angels' armies in the sky, where they saw men in gleaming armor running to and fro about the clouds, just over Jerusalem in 70 AD. And this was recorded not just by Josephus, who you could say is religious, but also Tacitus. Josephus, when he recounted this sighting, he said, I wouldn't believe it if so many people hadn't seen it and so many respected people hadn't told me. So Josephus was not a gullible person who just believed anything. But that's been recorded. People saw unidentified aerial phenomena in the air prior to the destruction of Jerusalem. It's recorded by Josephus. It's recorded by Tacitus. It's there. People can do what they want with it, but it's there. They would Death Star our asses for the safety of the universe. Well, one of the things that that the Fermi paradox doesn't ask is, how do you know that we're not just being quarantined? Right? How do you know that these things didn't look at us and say, okay, these guys need some time to mature. We're just going to put you in this little bubble here, and here's this little piece of the universe, and you won't know the difference. That, to me, is a much more rational explanation to the Fermi paradox. It could very well be, okay, you guys out here bombing people, killing people, all types of shit. If we let you guys go out and get to Alpha Centauri or whatever, you guys are going to fuck shit up and make shit inconvenient. And we don't believe in killing you guys, so we're just going to quarantine you in your own little bubble and you'll never get out. Nobody thinks about that. You know, there's so many ways of dealing with situations if you have those abilities that, you know. Yeah. The stoned ape theory, I think, is a really interesting theory. I don't think I believed it. I don't think I believe it. But what I do find interesting is what you see in the Garden of Eden is that Adam and Eve eat this fruit. Okay? And you know what? Now that I'm here, let me find what the actual Hebrew and Greek word is for fruit. But anyway, long story short, Adam and Eve eat the fruit. And upon consuming that fruit, they attain a level of awareness and consciousness that they hadn't had previously. because of something they ingested, their consciousness was opened up. So I don't think I hold to the stoned ape theory, but I do hold to the stoned Adam and Eve theory, in the sense that I do think that something radically different happened at a physiological level when they ate the fruit. And so I do think that definitely is in play. Do you believe in elective salvation? What do you mean by elective salvation, Nick? Stone Cold says, do you believe in God? Do you believe in Big Bang or God? What do you believe? Do you believe the earth being a perfect place in the universe? Well, I think if the Big Bang happened, God initiated it. I absolutely believe in God. I don't believe that God and science are at odds in any way, shape, or form. The dark forest idea is interesting too. The universe is so dangerous, everyone is hiding, and there are predators. That's why we can't see anyone. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think that the universe is populated by benevolent intelligences and dark intelligences. And I think to some degree that Earth is and that we are a sort of in the middle of it, and that a lot of what we call religion or whatever is us. It's like I said earlier, like if one of these gods came down, I would never pledge fealty to them and betray Yahweh. So to me, a lot of what we call religion or whatever is just who you're pledging allegiance to. And from my vantage point, Yahweh is the Most High, the Trinity is the Most High, and so obviously it makes a lot more sense to pledge fealty to him, because he's the most powerful. And he's the most loving, obviously, in my view. What do you think about the ancient religions like the Anunnaki and deities and ancient Sumerians? It's a crazy religion. Yeah, I think if you think about the Anunnaki and the Nephilim or the sages, as Michael Heiser's work has talked about, clearly there is some sort of interface between genetically superior extra-dimensional beings. You know, people say extraterrestrial. I don't think they're extraterrestrial. I think they're extra-dimensional. But there's clear interface between extra-dimensional beings and us, which then created these sort of superhuman demigods that you see recorded in stories like Hercules, all that type of thing. And oddly enough, you even see this with the alien stuff where people are talking about, genetic engineering these aliens and these half-breed babies and whatever. I'm sure 99% of it's crazy, but I do think that there's continuity there in the phenomena and the experience. What created the creator? Well, unlike the physical universe, God, because he's a non-physical entity, doesn't necessitate a beginning. Plato used to speculate the universe was eternal. That's before we had, the scientific progression to realize that, no, that matter is not eternal. So logically speaking, there's no necessity for God to have a creator, but there is a logical necessity for the universe to have a creator because it had a beginning. Whereas we believe God is beginningless. What do you think of Biden saying we will invade with troops on the ground if China invades Taiwan, but the White House keeps saying not to believe him? Biden came out last year. He was giving a message to whatever, and he told the Marines, like, you're going to meet some great people down there and all the I think it was the 4th Infantry Division, it was the 82nd. It's the 82nd Airborne guys. And he said something to the effect of, you're going to see some of the toughest people when you get down there, blah, 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 blah. And then later on, the White House said, don't believe him. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And we didn't send the 82nd down there. So I hope that that's just the ramblings of a guy who wasn't really thinking clearly. I don't remember seeing that quote, but it wouldn't surprise me if he said that. DJ says, dark times ahead, folks. Time to get real. You've been saying that for years, bro. I'm not with the doomsday stuff. I don't believe that doom is inevitable. As a matter of fact, I believe that the best is ahead of us, actually. That's what I believe. It isn't that simply true? If God in eternity past and at creation knew that the specific world he created would contain evil, that's what any well-read monergist means about God's decree. I agree. Vin, are Adam and Eve black? Yeah, Adam and Eve would be considered black by today's standard. I'm sure they were darker than me. He's gonna send corn pop if shit gets out of hand. Yeah. Oh man, y'all are a trip, bro. That corn pop shit, bro. Like, who told homie? Like, yeah, bro, that's gonna work, bro. Corn pop for sure. Who told the homie that was gonna work? All right, let me see. Genesis 3:3. Let me find the Hebrew and Greek word for fruit here. It might just be citrus, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? But let's check it out. Genesis 3:3. Let's see what it says about what the Greek word is for fruit there. Zach Wild in the house. Biden came out recently and reiterated that we will send troops to China, and then the White House says we still believe in our one China policy. Yeah, you ain't black if you don't vote for Biden. Thoughts on Dems funding radical Republicans? I don't think that in principle that it's as horrible of a strategy as TYT says it is. I think the problem is they're so stuck in their world that what they're calling extreme is not extreme to other people. So to me, that's the problem. Because the logic is people are going to find, this extremist Republican wins, and then we're going to say, you don't want to vote for this guy. He's an extremist. Vote for us because we're milquetoast. We're right down the middle. But what they don't realize is what they're calling extremism is not extreme to regular people on the ground. It's extreme to them because they're in their cloistered environment, and so their view of the world comes from Twitter and Facebook and all the rest of it, and polling and all the rest of it. They're not in the shit with regular Americans. I think that okay, I'm going to tell you a story. So there's this guy, and in my opinion, this guy is, I said this about this dude, like, as far as like military strategy goes, I put this guy on par with Alexander the Great. They were in a situation, and they were outnumbered. They were outnumbered. They were in a very, 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 very bad situation. They're massively outnumbered. Guys up top who were not in theater, they were not anywhere. They were in Virginia. Called dude and said, "Hey, go forward with the whatever." It was 4 guys, and it was against a good 50, 60 dudes, and they had reinforcements about 5 miles away, and their comms weren't down, whatever. So it was one of those situations where those guys were all gonna die. But there's all this hype about these people's unit. You guys are super soldiers, blah, 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 blah. They should be able to do this. We spend $2 million a man, blah, blah, blah. All this nonsense from people in West Virginia. So dudes are looking at this guy, and they're going to go if he tells them to go. And he goes, I can't hear you. What's going on? And he calls the thing off, and everybody goes back home. And so he's lecturing, he's explaining this to us, and he's saying, people in Washington weren't there. I was there. they had a list of what their capabilities were, blah, blah, blah. It's been done before. Well, it had been done before, but it was a fluke thing, and there was a ton of air support, and it was a publicized, engagement versus they weren't even supposed to be in there in the first place. And so the packages are different. Everything is different, blah, 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 blah. So his point was to say, on paper, thousands of miles away in West Virginia, sure, but on the ground, knowing what I know, hell no. And that's the difference between establishment politicians and grassroots politicians, whether it's on the left or the right. Establishment politicians, Barack Obama said it the best. He said that by the time he got to about year 7 or 8, he had just figured out the job and was really good and efficient at it. But conversely, he said, obviously, I lost touch with the people because I didn't see Trump coming from a mile away. I thought that was a very self-aware perspective to have that I do not see in the current Democratic Party at all. And so when these people say that guy is an extremist, yeah, in Virginia, in your little cloistered environment, sure. But on the ground, in the shit where everybody is right now, what you think as a politician is an extremist position may not be what regular Americans think is an extremist position, especially when they're in an extreme situation like spending thousands of dollars at Walmart when you used to spend hundreds of dollars, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So because the situation in America currently is really freaking extreme, and every 2 seconds you're hearing about recession and war and nukes here and Taiwan there, we're already in an extreme environment. So for them to say, oh, we're going to pick an extremist and the extremist is going to lose, I think is a sound strategy. The breakdown comes in is, how do you know what an extremist is? You have to understand what the median is at the street level of America to know what an extremist is. And I do not have the confidence that the Democrats know that. That's the issue, I think. So I think it's a sound plan. It's risky. It's a sound plan, but I also think it's going to backfire on them because they don't really understand what the average American actually thinks. So that's how I look at it. More than half of missing and murdered women, children, and some men are 53%. That 53% are indigenous people. The government in the United States and Canada does nothing. Holy shit. I too consider you two as my friends. I really sincerely mean that. So it's frustrating we've not been able to talk. Time difference and other things in our life that keeps us busy. Okay, I think that's fair. And I think, Kai, I can and should make more of an attempt. My life is pretty crazy right now, but I gotta make the time, bro. That's fair. Do you think this rhetoric from Biden and Trump is a strategy for them to get the country to divide themselves to the point that civil war or martial law to event? No, I don't think so. I don't think it's something as exotic as that between Trump and Biden. I just think Biden, his entire life, wanted to be the president, and Trump is an egomaniac, and I mean that in the clinical sense. I'm not trying to insult him. And I just think that that's what's going on. And both of them do not care if they tear their country apart to get what they want. That's what it looks like to me. Let's see. Is there a biblical passage about Pangea before the flood? I don't really think so. I heard a pastor say something like that one time, but it was kind of like, speculative and a kind of a reach, and I don't know. Have your prediction on the midterms changed since spring? Yeah, I definitely think that the Roe situation is going to purplize some of the red wave. I don't think it's going to be powerful enough to really do anything massively significant, but the slaughter that we all saw was going to happen, I don't think is going to happen, because the Republicans, rhetorically speaking, in my view, aren't really hitting on the pressing issues. I honestly think that there's an underground sort of antipathy to all this war support for Ukrainians. And I think if the Republicans would really push on that and connect it to the economy and things of that nature, I think we'd be in a situation where Republicans have a lot more power. But you know, the Republicans are so disorganized right now. It's weird. It's very strange to me. While Obama's a good talker, I think he's a huge disappointment. He could have pushed for universal health care, didn't he? He's another corrupt establishment. Of course, Brett. We know that. The guy, we know that. Hell yeah, you're right, Brent. You're right. Do you think? Yeah. So look, again, I do believe that there are people that have an agenda to rule the world and things of that nature. I don't believe that they're going to be successful and that they're as organized as people think they are. Free Leonard Pelletier. For show. People forget 94 Republicans took back the House for the first time in 40 or 50 years. A Republican messed that up this year. Yeah, man, some of the things that these folks do, man, is genuinely surprising to me, bro. Like, some of this shit is like, word, y'all are that, like, it seemed to me that Trump didn't want to win in 2020. Like, he the way that he handled COVID pretty much, toward the end, like, that shit was weird to me, bro. I'm like, yo, this dude, does he not want to be president? Like, is he done being the president? So, yeah. Yeah, it's very surprising when you see all this stuff, man. Like, it's weird. Definitely weird. I'm not gonna lie to you. Let's see. 10 minutes, guys. 10 minutes. GOPs have a ton of strength in having consistent messaging, but they're all over the place lately, especially now with Lindsey Graham floating a national abortion ban and Mitch trashing that. Yeah. Man, fuck Lindsey Graham and his, I shouldn't say that. Don't speak evil of a rule of your people. I'm not a fan of his abortion ban. He knows that 95% or 90% of abortions happen in the first 15 weeks. That's some weak sauce way of him saying to us that he's like doing a ban while at the same time appeasing the vast majority of Americans who don't believe in. Most Americans don't think that you can have an abortion past 3 months. They really don't. They think that, you know what I'm saying? So it's just a milquetoast way of trying to, play both sides against the middle. I don't have any respect for that move at all. That's cowardly, So, but believe me, like, I can't get into it, but the Republicans are it's definitely a concern for them because they were never pro-life. And you could tell when a person has never really truly been in the movement, they don't the supposed backlash that they're receiving, like they're genuinely surprised by it, and it looks like they don't know how to function. It's like, well, wait a second. If you've been fighting this fight the entire time, you should know how to present this information to these people. But they haven't. So all of us who are actually like I was just talking to somebody who's going to be speaking at a March for Life in a couple days, female atheist. And so all of us in the movement are like, man, fuck this guy, bro. It's just about power and things of that nature. And they're not the ones who called that play. It was the Supreme Court that called that play. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man. Shit's going crazy. Did you see the Charlie Kirk, Ben Glebe debate on abortion? No. The same Ben Glebe that was on, what's his face's show? Was that the same guy that was on Jimmy's show that got blitzed by, what's his face? I forgot the guy's name. By Kurt? Was it that guy? Yeah, like they're trying to switch gears now because they were never in it. The people that are in it are willing to like live and die over this shit. He doesn't want to lose a seat of power because he's not really about that. He ain't about that life. And you guys, people are like, yo, people thought I was going to be all happy with the Roe v. Wade decision, blah, blah, blah. Man, please. I never celebrate. I said a million times we shouldn't spike the football because we knew, and none of us were, man. Albany wasn't. None of us knew because we know about those people, bro. Nah, man. This is yeah. Like if you're really about that life, you're gonna commit to it. You're gonna. Do you know? One of these days when this is all over, I'm gonna tell you guys how much money I've lost because of our stance on abortion on these platforms. And I'm not complaining about it. The reason I'm saying that is so people understand, like, if you're gonna be part of this, you're gonna pay. You're gonna pay. I just got done watching The Good Lord Bird. And when you watch John Brown and you watch how this dude had to fight to get the humanity of Negroes to be recognized, and even to black people, how he had to convince, this shit was unbelievable to me. And then the nice white moderate who would say, yeah, man, I agree, this is terrible, but we can't do all this stuff now. We got to think logically about this stuff. There are serious economic ramifications to what you're talking about, Mr. Brown. So, yeah, man, Lindsey Graham and all the rest of it, man, I hope the Democrats go and kick their ass, bro. Honestly, like, to me, the Democrats and the Republicans are 6.5 dozen. They're the same to me. So I hope he pays a severe price for that, honestly, because they're soft as hell. Name me your favorite hip hop fan. My favorite hip hop fan? I don't know what you mean by. You mean like a Stan type guy? If you have any doubts about there being a God and whether or not he performs miracles, obviously you don't watch the Dolphins and the Ravens today. Later, Lisa Fernandez. Yeah, bro. That shit was... shout out to Tua, though. Tua's been getting it, man. He's been getting it. So I'm happy that he's doing his thing. Abortion affects black children the most statistically, yet BLM says nothing about it. Hell yeah, bro. I was outside of a clinic one time. These BLM people came by. I was like, word, Black Lives Matter. So how come more black babies died via abortion in New York City than were born? So in the most populous city in America, we had more black babies killed than born 2 years consecutively. But Black Lives Matter. Shut the fuck up. Black Lives Matter. Don't get me started. Don't get me started, y'all. Don't get me started. Oh my God. Well, if that Ben Glebe guy went up against the Turning Point USA guy, I'm going to assume that he got wrecked relative to abortion. But if Ben Glebe wants to come and debate me on abortion on Middle America, we can do that shit. That's a standing offer to everybody. Hell, I'll do 3-on-1. I don't care. Concerning the doctrine of the Trinity, do you believe there are 3 centers of intellection and 3 wills, or 1 center of intellection and 1 will? There are obviously 3 separate centers of consciousnesses that are aware of the other and aware that they are not the other. In Hebrews, it talks about the blood of the eternal covenant. You cannot make a covenant unless you're operating in with multiple consciousnesses. Now, the concept of the will, I think, is a singular will, because Jonathan Edwards defines the will as the will is the mind choosing. And since they share the exact same essence, then it's inconceivable to me that their will, if the will is defined that way, the will is the mind choosing. It seems to me that if they have the same essence, then their minds would always be in perfect harmony with one another, because much of what our thoughts and what we do has to do with our essence. Our will cannot be divorced, I think, from our ontology. And so I think, so for example, especially from a biblical worldview, right? So somebody's born with original sin, that's an ontological issue that affects the will. And so if you had a perfect ontology, and if you had a perfect ontology and you were all knowing, then obviously your will would only be directed in one direction per issue, because there can only be one perfect decision on a given issue. So I believe that you have three separate centers of consciousness, but one harmonious will relative to the divine nature. I'm very, very curious, though, as to your understanding of that. Yeah, hell yeah. I would love to get online with you, Michelle, when you're oh, look at that. That's a look how she spelled her name, y'all. That's the Irish version. That's badass, Michelle, honestly. Honestly, that's really awesome. I think I hear a coyote attacking some dogs a few houses over. Oh. You know, that's pretty ugly, huh? Just the sound. Weird. Kurt Metzger doesn't seem like the person to debate someone, period. Yeah, Brent, but he blitzed that dude, bro. He blitzed that dude when he was on the show. But the thing is that the guy's arguments were so, like, demonstrably just bad that, you know, it got to the point where he was talking about how he and his friends listen to Eminem's first record. I hope Applejack is still in the room. This dude, Ben, shout out to Ben. he said he and his friends listened to Eminem's first record, so they all went outside and looked for somebody to put the screws to, and that's because Eminem, you know. And he was like, "Thank God we couldn't find anybody," or whatever. That shit was candy apples, man. That shit was funny as hell, bro. I was laughing. Oh my God. Oh my God! I hold to the Latin Augustinian Thomas model of the Trinity rather than any of the three self models. So extricate that, you know, explicate that a little bit for us. Yeah, that guy to me is that Gileb guy, whatever his name is. He's not a debater, and that's okay. Like, it's okay. Like, debating is a very very specific kind of skill set, and not a lot of people can get there. Okay, so do I believe in destiny? What do you mean by destiny? Do I believe in destiny? Guys, check this shit out. This is really, really interesting. I know it's kind of off topic, but I do think it's a fascinating thing. The National Crime Information Center reports that in 2016, there were 5,712 reports of missing American Indian and Alaska Native women and girls, though the U.S. Department of Justice Federal Missing Persons Database NamUs only logged 116 cases. So that's isn't that weird? Like, I don't even understand the logic of that. So let me see. You got 5,700 girls, and only 116 of them are even reported as missing. So how the hell are you going to find it? That's less than 1%. If your brother Vin can do any math, I think that's even less than 1% of the actual women and girls who are missing. And this site, I read hand over the mouth. I'm looking at this site, and this site is current. So this is actually still happening, which is a very odd, like, what the fuck is going on here? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a strange sort of I got to kind of look into that more. There's got to be some detective work about this because this shit don't make any sense to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, guys. We're gonna have to figure that out. So there's an actual website. It's called Native Hope that I was checking out. So I don't know. Maybe I'll do a Middle America investigative report type situation. Maybe I'll hook up with some of the Native folks here in the main area and see if they're having the same experience. But that shit is weird to me right now. Like, you know, I'm not gonna make an opinion on this, but closer to 2%. Okay, so it's 2%. Listen to Tasco. So of the girls who are missing, only 2% were even reported by the State Department. You know what I'm saying? I guess shit is fucked up, bro. Yeah, I think it's about 2. I think it's about 2%. We got 5,700. You know what I'm saying? Versus only 116 being reported. I gotta validate that number, but that shit is crazy. Oh, my man Downing is in here? Where'd he go? What's up, bro? Hope you're well. Okay, there you go. Shout out to my man Khalilullah Downing, friend of God Downing. Shout out to the homie. Maintain your iman, bro. I hope that situation is clearing itself up. I hope the truth comes out. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to you. If you need anything, dude, you know where to hit me. And I'm serious, bro. If you need anything, hit your boy. I got you. Yeah, so that shit is crazy. So if anybody's got any research on that, hit me up. And I'm gonna try to look for search out some Native folks in this area and see if that experience is the same. That shit is crazy. I think me and Soraya are gonna have I think there's a Native like reservoir something. What's it called? Reservation Road. Everybody's been telling us to look at. So hopefully, you know what? Let me chat with this person. Maybe I can get this person on Middle America. We can do an interview. Yeah, I'll probably try to do that. Listen, if anybody knows like an authoritative Native person who knows what they're talking about, let me know. I need to talk to some people that's credible, that has documentation, that has information. Yeah. I need to know that. Request to raise awareness. Someone I can talk to directly. Do you believe in the little gods in regards to God creating us in his image? Since some people take that as us also being a god, I don't believe in this, to be clear. No. Us being image bearers of God does not mean that we are little gods. But what it does mean is, so in the ancient Near East, one of the ways that the emperor would get people to just follow him, I mean, you didn't have nuclear weapons and things of that nature, right? So one of the things that you would do to assert your authority is to say, look, the gods are in heaven, we're down here on earth, and so he has sent the royal family are his images on the earth. Okay, so the Pharaoh, he is God's representative on the earth. Okay, so he is the image of God on the earth, and so you treat Pharaoh the way that you treat the gods, because the gods are busy in heaven and Pharaoh's on earth, and so he is a representative of God on the earth. He's the image of God. Moses takes that idea and says, "Yep, if you believe in Mosaic authorship of the Torah, most people don't. I do. Read John Sailhammer. That's a different story." But Moses takes that idea and says, yeah, Pharaoh's right. He is the image of God, but all of us are. All of us are representatives of God on the earth. All of us are vice regents of God on the earth. Not that we are God, but that we are to rule this earth in the place of God. In the same way as I would say, hey, I'm going to Portland to Dorian. Dorian, you're me in the house. You rule the house when I, whatever. Everybody knows that Dorian's not the ultimate authority. Everybody knows there's there's a difference between me and Dorian. There's a difference between my authority and his authority. We understand that all of Dorian's authority comes from me, and that I could pull it back at any time, etc., etc. Just the same, he is my vice regent. He is the vice vin when I'm not around. And so if you look at the opening narrative in Genesis chapter 1, God says, let us make man in our image and according to our likeness. And then the very next thing he says is, let them have dominion. And so what Moses is saying is, yes, Pharaoh is the image of God, but all of us are images of God on the earth. All of us represent God on the earth. All of us are vice regents, vice rulers, co-rulers together on the earth. No, we're not God. All of our authority and power derives from God. All of our glory derives from God. And there's a vast difference between us and God. But just the same, we are his representatives on the earth. And that's the reason why James says, you cannot curse your brother and then praise God in the same breath. Because you're cursing your brother, but your brother is the image of God on the earth. How can you curse the image of God on the earth and then give worship to the God of heaven? If you hate the image of God, then you cannot praise the God who's being imaged by your brother. The point that the reason that murder is wrong is not because it's ugly and it makes us feel bad. The reason murder is wrong is because when you kill a human being, you're killing God in effigy. In other words, an effigy, in Arab countries or the Middle East, when we bomb the shit out of their children and kill them, they'll have like a little dummy of the U.S. president, and then they'll put his little face on the dummy, and then they'll beat it with sticks, they'll spit on it and set it in fire. That's called destroying something in effigy, because they can't get to the president, and they hate the president, and so they're going to create some sort of image of the president, beat the hell out of that. And so you're saying, if I could murder you, I would. And so killing a human being is bad is because it's killing God in effigy. The psychology of murder from a biblical worldview is that you don't really hate that person, you hate God. And so you're taking out your frustration and hatred of God onto that person. And what you're saying is, if you were here, I would kill you. And what's fascinating about the Christian religion is that God actually showed up here and we killed him. So being an image bearer of God simply means that I represent God in a way that nobody has before me and nobody ever will after me forever. And that's where I get all my value from. That's why when the white kids called me nigger, all types of shit when I was a kid, it didn't touch me. Because my mother instilled in me that there was never one like me before and there will never be one like me again. Nobody can image God the way that I can. And nobody can image God the way that you can. And nobody can image God the way that Joe Biden can. And that's one of the reasons why I go out of my way to try to be as respectful as possible about that man, even though I'm like completely against pretty much everything that he stands for. So image of God does not mean that we're little gods, and it doesn't mean that we look like God physically. It means that we are vice regents, that we are stand-ins, and our job is to represent God. Image of God is a job title and a position. That's what it means. And so anyway, that's my position on it. So that's what that means. So no, we're not little gods. All right, guys. I got 3 minutes left, guys. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. I love watching your reactions. Never got a live stream, but I have a question. My father recently passed. How do I know I will see him again, and how is the best way to deal with it? I am lost. Well, David, a couple things. One, here's one thing. Everything that you loved about your father is I tell my son this. My oldest son loves me, admires me. The kids say he worships me, probably does. I take that boy. Oh, I love you, bro. But anything that he loves about me is a faint, terrible shadow of who God actually is. God is not like our Father. Our fathers are like God. And so, one of these days, I'm going to say goodbye to my son for the last time in this world. But everything my son loved about me wasn't really me. It was God. And insofar as he loved something about me is me imaging God, like I said in the previous conversation, accurately. And so one of these days, I'm going to leave my son into the hands of his true father. So the first thing I'll say to you is that your father was amazing, I'm sure, and he had a massive impact on you, I could tell. And that is valuable, and God doesn't throw anything away. And everybody who wants God will have him. And everybody who does not want God, God will honor that decision. What I can tell you is that everybody who you love and love deeply and has made a massive impact on your life, it's because in those moments where they impacted you, they were imaging God. I'm not saying that forget your father because God is. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that warmth, the love, the loyalty, the direction, the guidance, the wisdom that your father gave you that has such a massive impact on your life. He was a channel from a God who loves you 60 trillion times more than your father could. So, first thing I'll say is I want to honor your father and say well done to your father for having such an impact on your life. And I'll tell you guys this. The job of a father and a husband is to live and guide your kids in such a way that when it's time for you to go, you can hand them off to God until they see you again. That they can be strong, functional human beings that can thrive in your absence because you have brought them to their true father. And it's my job. My job is to work myself into obsolescence. And when that job is complete, I'm out of here. And your dad did his job, bro. So he's out of here. But God hasn't left you fatherless. So that's how to answer that question. You know, they asked Muhammad, they said, Ya Rasulullah, will we see you in Jannah? And Muhammad says, you will be with those you love. So that's a good hope. That's a good hope, and that's what I'd say to do. He was stepdad for 40 years. So so the comment, kudos on the good job he did, means more because he chose to. Yeah, see, I could tell. That's a dude that didn't have to. He didn't have to. But he loved you anyway, and he did that shit. And you know, I'm a stepdad too, bro. And I hope that when I go, that my stepdaughter could say the same thing, inshallah. So I salute your dad, bro. But don't despair. Don't despair. Because you got another dad who, if you open your heart to him, he'll love the hell out of you. And I mean that literally. I mean that literally, my brother. And there's nothing wrong with shedding a tear here and there. Nothing wrong with that, my man. Nothing wrong with that. So shout out to Dave's dad. We appreciate you, bro. And that's gonna be a good reunion, bro. I got a mom. I got a couple moms up there. I know I'm gonna see him again. That doesn't mean I don't feel this shit. I feel it, bro. Trust me. And I feel it with you. like I feel that shit. And I appreciate you, bro. I really appreciate you sharing that, because it gives me a motivation to do a little bit extra, spend a little bit extra time. And all of you who are fathers, man, think about what this dude is saying. This dude was a stepfather, and this dude gave 40 years of his life to this dude. Holy shit. That's a high bar, y'all. So I want to be the type of father, man, that people will say that about, you know? Okay. So, all I gotta say is, look, when that time comes for all of us, you guys better make sure you're on the right side of all this shit. Because when I think about you guys offline and shit, like you guys, I'm like, yo, I tell God all the time, I'm like, I want every single one of my friends, bro. Every single one of them. What makes you so special? I don't care. I want every single one of my friends, when this shit is all over, all you guys are going to be on the table with us, bro. That's real shit. That's what I pray for. And I believe in perfect faith that that's going to happen for my people. And Dave, you're my people. He was very much Christian. I'm confident he's in heaven. Of course, bro. The only thing he'd say to you is, man, you better make sure you come with me. You better make sure you come with me. That's all he's saying to you, Dave. Just make sure you're there with him, bro. That's all. And at the end of the day, that's what it is for me, man. At the end of the day, man, this shit is all about family, guys. Honestly, like, there's politics, there's this, there's that, there's money. We fight about shit. We fight all the time. We say shit we shouldn't say, blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, it's all about family. And, you know, all of us are lost, and Big Brother Jesus came to take us home. That's how I feel about it. I understand everybody has different understandings and shit like that. That's cool. But that's what I believe, and that's where I'm at. Vin, what do you think my naming my son after my grandfather because my grandfather was important to me? Are you kidding me? Reza's middle name is Keith Patrick because that's my dad's name. But I feel bad that I'm mad he's gone. It's selfish. Man, don't feel bad that he's gone. You're supposed to feel bad he's gone, bro. You're supposed to feel bad he's gone. Yeah, he's in a better place, but you still down there and you still down here, bro. Nothing wrong with feeling bad, being angry that he's gone. Listen, Jesus, you know when it says it says Jesus wept because Lazarus was dead. Let me show you something. Check this out, bro. I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to get out of here. This is John 11:35, right? It says Jesus wept because his buddy Lazarus was dead. And, you know, he was really, really, really upset, right? Look at what the word means. Look at what the word weep means. I got a friend on this channel. I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want to put his business out there. But his brother died. And I could tell that dude loved his brother. And, you know, I'm not going to lie in here and I say I feel his pain because I never lost a brother. But every time I think about this dude losing his brother, like, I feel that shit in my gut, bro. But listen to this. The Greek word for wept here, look what it says. To cry tears because of sadness, rage, or pain. So when Jesus wept over the death of Lazarus, there was some rage in that crying. There's another crying when he wept over Jerusalem. It's a different word. This word carries with it the connotation of a real deep rage. And that's Jesus. And he was about to heal the guy in 2 seconds. He was about to, in four or five verses later, he resurrects Lazarus from the dead. So why is he raging and angry? Because he's looking around and he's seeing all the weeping and the pain, and he knows, yeah, I'm going to raise Lazarus from the dead, but 20 years, he's going to die again. And these people are going to have to go through all this shit again. Death is an enemy in Christian theology that will be overcome. So nothing wrong with some rage at death, because that shit is not supposed to happen. People are not supposed to be separated from their kids, and parents aren't supposed to be separated from their kids, and kids should be able to go to school, come home, and have an egg. I used to come home from school. My mom used to make me an egg. Come, Vin, here's your egg. She'd have to have a boiled egg. I'd put down my little Pac-Man book bag, and she'd sit down with my egg, and she'd ask me how school goes. That's the shit that's supposed to happen to those kids in Uvalde, bro. So anybody who's not mad at death, man, I'm not with it. Hell yeah, we're supposed to be mad at death. Hell yeah, we're supposed to be mad at death. Yeah. So I'm mad at death. I'm mad for you, bro. But it's all good, because we're all going to be together again for show. Just make sure you're there, bro. That's all. Just make sure you're there. The same Jesus that guided your father till his dying day, he'll walk with you. I'm going to learn from my sponsor for the first time ever how to grill steaks. No lie. I'm dying from the Middle East toxin. This guy's 30 years older than me. He's going to teach me how to grill. Hell yeah, that's what we about. Shout out to Stone Cold. I want death, but I'm too much of a coward to kill myself. And hi, Vin. Well, I hear you, great old one, but I'm glad. I'm glad you're too afraid to kill yourself. And I hope you're always afraid to kill yourself, because you have no right to take yourself from us. Your community property. You don't get to fucking just go. You don't get to leave like that. That's not how it goes, bro. All right. Much love to all you beautiful people. I love you all. For real. I love all you beautiful people. So love each other. Take care of each other. Do your best. Do your best, guys. Do your best. Trust Jesus. Love each other as much as you can. I'll see you guys on the other side of the break. The other side of the break, meaning in another day or 2 or 3. Take care of each other, guys. All the folks with the super chat, thank you so very much. I appreciate all of that. And look, guys, be kind, because everybody you know is fighting a hard battle. So be kind. Be kind to people as much as you possibly can, because you don't know what people are going through. So do your best. Do your best. Okay, guys? And, you know, if you screw up and you hurt people, there's a cross for that. So, you know, just brush yourself off and get up and do it again.